Hey everybody, it's Design Time with James and Kory. I'm
There we
Kory.
go. I'm
Yeah.
James. A little bit late
And
tonight. Sorry about that. I've got some
yep,
connection troubles over here.
yep. So prepare for anything, folks.
That's right.
Anything could
Including
happen.
including abandonment.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. I mean, we all need to learn to deal with that.
That's right.
So tonight's your chance. And what are we going to talk? Okay, well so we might have some connection problems tonight. Who knows? You want to let's start with the last week's puzzle. It's ridiculous.
Last week's puzzle. Yeah. Hey.
Right.
And so it was about a game book.
Yeah. And I should have
And
made it. I should have made it even more, and I meant to write it in the comments. I always remember that the last sentence of the ending in this game book. It's one of the early game books. You were in a cave, and you chose between like 2 or 3 doors, and one of the doors you just like you walked through it, and then you like stepped off the edge of a cliff and ended up in outer space, flying through sort of space and time. And then the last sentence was something like, you feel the cool wind of time across your mind, or something like that. The end, right? And yep,
that's just like real life.
yeah.
Well, so that's kind of funny.
And you remember now which? Well, so here's the funny thing is
No,
I don't even know for sure that I'm right about that. That's how ridiculous our weekly puzzles are. And I actually did try to go find this book in the library so that I could confirm, and I couldn't even find it, not even on the interlibrary loan that I have around here. But I'm pretty sure it sounds like it's from the Cave of Time, the very
That
number one,
sounds familiar.
but it is not.
Okay.
It's from.
But it's not?
It's from book number 3, By Balloon to the Sahara. And I believe it's a callback to the Cave of Time. Like it's just one ending where you just happen to find an entrance to the Cave of Time. But anyway, we were joking about it last.
That's
It
cool.
was at the capricious nature of those, like of those game books and how you can trying to make decisions about whether a thing is going to kill you or not.
Yeah,
And
but so I wonder if I like actually read it sometime. I wasn't when I like
that's
I
what was
made
so
the
weird.
comment. I know.
You totally. I thought you knew exactly what I was talking about. I was like, oh, James remembers that book.
It might be some distant memory that I
Yeah.
had, but maybe it wasn't.
It may be some ancestral memory.
Yes. My cavemen forebears that were playing
A memory that the writer of that book shared with you.
Choose Your Own Cave Painting or
Mhm.
whatever it was they were playing. Choose Your Own Cave Painting. I want to play that now. Wait, isn't it? You made that. You made Choose Your Own Cave Painting. Almost.
Did I?
Kind of. You built a couple of prototypes that were like that. Those cartoony ones where the communal drawing one.
Yeah.
That's almost a Choose Your Own Cave Painting.
Okay. Yeah.
But more like the comic strip one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah. I am enjoying game development again.
No, you're not. So you're talking about
Programming.
game development or developing games?
Design time is.
We have to be clear about. Yes, that's
It's
right.
so much about these fine distinctions that matter, that really matter.
Semantics.
Yep.
It's like one word.
I don't know what
Plastic.
your distinction is there.
Well, you're right. So you can be a game. You can develop games in a board game sense, for example.
Yeah, of course.
But you actually meant.
I meant programming, computer programming. I'm doing Unity programming, and it's fun.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you for an update on that. So good. Let's hear about this. So what is it? So first of all, tell me your impressions of Unity.
Oh, I'm not having that much fun. This is boring.
Okay, so tell me what are you interested in? What are you having fun in? What about it is fun again for you?
Well, the thing with these things, I have found that, and tell me if you agree. The
I do not.
initial hurdles are the hard part. That is the really hard part. Like if you're sitting down to learn Unity or HTML5 or whatever else it is, for me it's getting started is absolutely the worst because everything's confusing, and it's like that overwhelming beginning feeling. And I'm over that now a little bit. Like
Oh, sweet.
I there's a ton of stuff that I'm ignoring, but like. I got to the point. I just quickly got to the point where I can draw triangles, and so
Right.
I'm making my own sort of vector-based triangle engine, and I love engine design is my favorite thing to do programming-wise, so that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I got these screenshots and stuff. Like I'll work up something for patrons to take a look at and whatnot. But so I've got
Sweet.
the very beginnings of paradigm patterns with tiles flipping over and stuff like that. But yeah,
Wow.
so I'm over that really beginning sucky phase, and then it gets bad again later when you have to start.
Right, when you have to start doing like details,
doing
actual.
Integrating,
Right,
doing all the.
You've got this.
Dealing with
you've got
server
this
stuff.
basic. Yeah.
Dealing with other people's APIs now to make all the surrounding
Oh,
stuff
God,
work.
that's what I ran into.
Totally awful. I hate it. So I'll hate it again later. But
something to look forward to.
Yep. But that's all. I'm playing Desktop Dungeons a little bit. You know what that is?
I think so. I think I played it for
there was
20 minutes.
Free version of it a while back. I mean, it's like a rogue-like-ish thing.
Yeah, I
but
think
the monsters don't move. It's kind of puzzly because the monsters don't move, and everything. There's no luck in the battle system. Well, there is some, I think.
Yeah, I think there is. I can't remember
there can
now.
be.
It was a while ago.
There can be. Like there are certain armors that protect you a percentage of the time or something like that. But
right. Yeah, I kind of remember that.
The basic system is deterministic. And they released a full-on commercial version of it.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's on Steam. It was on one of these. Do you know the Humble Bundle stuff?
I know of it. I've never purchased one. So.
Well, right now they're doing daily bundles. They're doing a bundle every day. And,
I think Jeff Vogel mentioned this, right?
Yeah, it's pretty over the top.
About it being indicative of a particular problem.
Yeah, that's a whole topic that I think we're not going to talk about tonight. But the money thing. We'll talk about that some other time. We're talking about. We're talking tonight about you again.
Really?
Kind of.
All right.
Well, both of us.
Oh, good. Both of us together.
James and Kory. Design time.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about collaboration to start with. Yeah, I want to talk more
That's
about.
A good topic.
I want to talk more about what you, delve into even more what the aspects of games are that you are looking for. So we talked last week about how you're mostly disappointed in games. So I want to understand even more what you're looking for as much as you know it, and I want to know why you haven't been able to reach that in your own designs. And I want to talk about collaboration because you've brought that up a couple times.
Yeah, I brought it up, and it's a timely topic because I'm next week.
That's right.
Oh, hey, let's mention next week should be a very special episode.
Yeah.
Where what happens on a very special episode? Either somebody dies, or
Yeah, some.
Or it's a topic ripped from the headlines.
No.
I don't know. Isn't that what it used to happen on a very special
Yeah,
episode? Right.
I,
On a
I
very
guess.
special episode of
Yeah.
Blossom or whatever. Different Strokes. You
Yeah.
remember the Different Strokes one where they had there was a very special episode. You
Oh
don't
man.
care about any of this shit. You remember this though? Different Strokes had this very special episode about this like neighbor guy that
Yeah,
would like bring the kids over and show them like cartoon porn.
that's right.
Like this pedophile.
Oh,
You
this
actually remember that?
this show. Yes, I remember
Wait,
something
that's
like
not
that.
funny. Hey,
I remember something like it. I don't know if I would have been able to remember the topic. I remember those episodes, like What's Happening and Good Times, like
right.
Jeffersons, and every crazy show from that. Three's Company. I don't know. Those special
Blooded
episodes.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so but
James is.
that's
So
all
our
to say.
special episode.
Our special episode is hopefully nobody will die. Wow, now I've totally jinxed it. So somebody actually will die. But yeah, we'll have some guests on next week.
Yeah, we don't. Do we even know what we're gonna do really?
Nah, we don't know what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
we'll figure it out. It's gonna be it's a special episode. You never know what those are gonna be.
Yeah, it'll be a special episode.
But yeah, you're having a game design convention of sorts. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, it's just a little gathering.
Yep.
Yep. That we do. And yeah, it's gonna be light this year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sure. I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
so
be
light
there.
as opposed to
Weigh the whole thing down. Yep.
exactly
Yep.
with your eternal optimism.
Yeah.
So
It would have sucked anyway. Yeah.
hey,
That's my
why?
optimism, my eternal optimism. No, it wouldn't
I
have.
see.
Of course, it would have been awesome. Although you know how I feel about playtesting, so that's really what I was saying.
I do, and actually, I was thinking a little bit more about this, and this gets
Yeah.
back to collaboration
Yep.
and what I'm actually looking for. So,
Yep.
in games,
Yeah.
last week I mentioned cooperation in games, right? And how
Yeah.
you don't really get this in board games and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking a little bit more about that, and I think the reason that I think there's like this very clear dichotomy when you come right down to it between people who like to do things themselves, like "Ooh, I did it," versus people who like the strongest form of collaboration, and this is what I think has not really been achieved in cooperative board games, is when you are not able
Yeah.
to do something yourself. It's actually you are incapable of doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know whether it comes down to a personality difference of people who don't mind asking for help. I don't know if it really boils down that far, but yeah. So this is perhaps one of the reasons that video game cooperative video games work for me, like
Yeah.
in what am I trying to say? Gears of War, right? There's no way you could like
Right.
run multiple characters yourself. It's not
Sure.
logistically possible.
Right.
And they've started to explore that in like what's the space one? Space Alert.
Yeah.
It's almost not logistically possible for you to run all of the characters,
Yeah. It's still
So
that one's still not great in my opinion. Like, and you can
Nope,
still
I
have one
agree.
person who's commanding a lot of people to do
Yeah.
things. Yeah, maybe I like Escape from the Mayan Tomb of Doom of
Yeah.
adventure-y
Yeah.
Mayan temple thing. I think that's the full title. But I
For a
guess
time pressure co-op, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, right. Time pressure is unfortunate for me, but I get the point. It's like you really couldn't just do all that by yourself.
Right.
Do you-
That's what makes it logistically, infeasible for you to do it all yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Do you find like in video games? Are you more interested in games where it's people's abilities, like actual real abilities, that hinder them, or so we had fun with that Laura Croft game, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And that's one where your actual characters have ability, like one of you can throw these spears, and one of you has this rope, right? So that's one where the game mechanics are restricting the two players. And then there could be other things where this person's just really good at aiming in real life, whatever, using the gamepad, and I don't know, like which of those two is more. I mean, maybe this is a side issue. Maybe that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it's a side issue, but
Yeah.
in general, probably the former is more interesting,
More
at least
tractable.
from a
Yeah.
design perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I think, is this. And as I was thinking about that, that reminded me of what we were talking about last week with collaboration, and me talking about how, if I feel stuck, that's where I feel like I want to collaborate,
Hmm.
right? It's like a very similar situation. I feel like I can't do it by myself, or I
Yeah.
could, but it's logistically not feasible because it's going to take me, whatever,
Yeah.
10 years. uh, So there might be something that might be that similar kind of feeling might be why I'm really interested in experimenting with collaboration.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
still don't know if I'm going to be very good at it, but so that's
Yeah.
at least a partial answer to what you were asking.
Okay. Yeah. There's a couple comments about that. I know that you aren't fishing for compliments or anything like that. But I don't see. I don't think that you. I think that you will be good at collaboration. I don't know exactly what's been going on, like what has happened so far. I don't know that much about the collaborative projects that you've done. Um, but I think the your personal qualities will make you a good collaborator. Um, you've expressed some a feeling like that your tastes are too, I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's my
specific to
biggest
yourself.
worry.
Yeah, and even that I'm a little bit. I don't really agree with it. I mean I think that your tastes are wider than you think they are, or I don't know. That doesn't, to me, that's not a big worry. I think that you and I have. I mean, so that um, I don't know. So I don't know how much, if there's more to talk about there. We could delve into, what you think, what aspects of your tastes you think um, are not as wide, don't have as wide appeal or something like that. But I I had this thought, like, so say that you and I were going to collaborate.
Hmm.
Um, well, okay, so let me back up there. Um, I'll tell you a way that would be very valuable to me, is the knowledge. Um, so you definitely have this perspective that I think I'm missing some of the time, or right? Like, so I think that I think that I'm pretty good at a certain kind of design. Um, like, these relatively mechanical, relative simple and elegant kind of games, and you are able to sense, like, so for you it's some of the stuff that I would design is a bit dry, right? And to me that's a very valuable perspective. Like, I see that, and I'm always been interested in branching out away from that, and but I don't know how to do that. I really don't. Like, it's not a strength of mine, and I don't know how to do it, especially, um, and retain the simplicity and elegance that I like, which I would still insist on, right? And so that's part of the question: is it even possible? But I kind of think it is. And so this was an area that, you know, collaboration would be fruitful, and that's what I want to hear even more about. You know, what you think I could add to, you know, my design style. You know, what kinds of things you're looking for in games. But specifically, what I was wondering is it feasible to consider this like Venn diagram? Like, so if you and I were collaborating and we both had total veto power, essentially. Like, if
Hmm.
if if like basically I was going to say, okay, we aren't going to do anything that I consider to be too ugly or too inelegant or too complex or whatever else. And then on your side, you'd be saying, okay, we aren't going to do anything that I think is too dry or too, you know, too Lost Cities like or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and like, does this Venn diagram that we're creating actually have? Is there any content there, or do these two circles just barely do they overlap at all? Is the question. I feel like they do, you know, and
Touch at a single point,
yeah,
and it's the perfect game.
yes, exactly, exactly. So I think with just a couple of hard weeks of work, we can uncover
Yeah,
that.
I think so.
So we need to get on that. Uh, so
Oh, wait a
what?
minute. Did you say hard work? I think we're doomed.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
We're gonna
yeah,
do
no,
what? Yeah.
I think there's some room there. So, um, I don't know. I mean, how close does something like Diver Down come to that?
Oh,
Um,
that Diver Down comes um, all the way for me. How close does it come for you? I mean, it's certainly more abstract than what you started with,
yes,
right?
absolutely. Yep,
So,
yep.
I mean, how do you feel about? I know you've said you like it a lot. So,
I like it a whole lot. Yeah.
yeah.
It's still got that one rule niggle that you've got with it.
Okay.
Uh, right.
I don't even remember now. Refresh my memory.
You would prefer not to have the rule that requires you to place a tile adjacent that's touching on at least two edges.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't even remember that. Yeah, I don't like it
See,
anymore.
see,
No, no,
you
no.
would veto that, and there's the whole
Well,
thing.
no, no. I mean, but this is the
You're not
point
going
of.
to compromise.
Sure, I am. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the point of my of writing that essay of mine about the imperfect games. I mean, I compromised for everything. I compromised on Zendo. I compromised on blockers. Even, you know, even the compromise I made on blockers was probably a bad move in hindsight. That's more and more what I'm thinking now. So I would
Which was that the capture rule or the
yeah,
scoring?
capture rule.
Capture. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
But yeah, I mean, so I'm willing. I mean, I probably would if that was our game. Because I put these things in slightly different like I don't work on them that hard when they're other people's games, right? So
Yeah.
if it was our game, I would probably be saying, well, I still want to spend some more time thinking about that rule and seeing if there's something we could do about it. But like I would I would release Diver Down in exactly the form that it's in right now. You
I
know?
plan to.
Okay, yeah, good, good, good.
So, but I'm going to. I plan to self-publish it. So I'm
Yeah,
talking to Greg and Brett next week about. I would like
art.
to contract one of them, yeah, for layout
Yeah,
and art,
awesome.
and self-publish it and just see what, just so people can at least get their
Great.
hands on it.
I would love that. I want a copy. I've been wanting a copy.
Yeah, I priced
And
it
there
out
are
on,
yeah.
and I don't think it'd be
What's the
horrible. It's going to be
company?
like Game Crafter.
Game Crafter,
So
and they
Game
have the
Crafter,
components you need.
they do finally, yeah. They've got the
Right.
1-inch hex tiles, which was the thing that for
That's
a
a
while.
recent addition.
Well, at least I never noticed it. Like
Okay.
when I first investigated it, a year or two
Yeah.
ago. And so I looked, and they've got everything. They've got everything we need, with the possible exception of that starting tile. You know, that
Yeah.
Eagle Island, as I call it. But but that can be composed of smaller hexes.
Exactly. You can do it.
So yeah, we can totally do it. I think on the shelf it's going to be on the digital shelf will be in the $40 to $45 range, which is high for that style of game. But it's always going to be for those print-on-demand games. But I don't think it's out of reach.
Yep.
Anyway, so
great. That's great news for everyone, all our viewers.
I'll send you a copy.
Go pre-order it right now, everybody. I don't think that's possible, but
no.
Try.
So yeah, that style of game, and yeah, as you said, so yeah, if we had done that one together, we probably would have arrived at something pretty similar to that, just a lot faster, just sooner, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
It sort of turned toward that when you and I had played for a couple of years in a row at the gathering and at the retreat, and I got to this point where I'm like, hey, I want to see what I can do about making a version. Remember, I called it the Kory Heath version.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if I could make a version that you would actually enjoy playing. It still had the board, but you could see like all the extras were stripped out, what I would consider extras.
Yep. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So there were two key changes after that point, but that's when it was sort of going down that road. Well, and it probably would have gone down that road a lot faster if we had actually been, designated co-designers or something.
Yeah. Sure. And it would, and if we lived near each other at the time, and there's a bunch of things that would help, Yeah. Right. Well, see, even this, I think that suggests some optimism about collaboration for you, because that's a collaboration. I mean, I consider even just playtesting and game development as a form of collaboration. And
that's true.
So it was a mild collaboration as it was, and as was Zendo and Blockers and all games that I've made.
And they get influenced by a lot of people that are playtesting, and some more than
right.
People have more influence on a particular design than others.
Right. Yeah. So that's so you ended up with a game that you like. And I believe it's a publishable game, and I think it could be, popularity is a whole different thing, of course, but I think it's publishable, and I think it, who knows how well it would do, but it has the potential to do, as well as, better than many other published games. It's all that, I don't know. I think it's, so that's a thing, but questions that I'm interested in are, like other elements that you like, so the way that that game was earlier on, so you did that particular experiment, right, to try to say what happens if I steer this more towards like what I would like.
Yep.
But that's not the only way to go. Yeah, so I'm interested in these other ways, like other things that you are interested in adventure games. So one possible conclusion is that if you and I collaborated, we would always end up with things on the level of Diver Down, as far as.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's that's at least a strong possibility. I don't know about always, but I think if we were slaves to our natural intention or inclination, then yes, probably.
Yeah.
But if we made an effort to stretch those boundaries, we're perfectly capable of doing that.
Right. And so tell me what that would look like for me to stretch my boundaries.
So you want to know what tendencies you have as a designer?
No, I know what they are. I want to know what.
What are they? You tell me then.
Oh, did you? Well, I know from it's all the stuff we've talked about, right? The focus on mechanics, focus on simplicity and elegance, and a little bit tone deaf about themes, and or rules that are there to support a theme, or I mean, like, those are the kind of things I would say. Do you have a different list, or do you have a different angle on it?
No, well, the other result that I've pointed out to you before is that I get a feeling from not just your games, but games in that thread that they're they often are forcing everybody to play the same way.
Right. Okay. Right.
That's part of what I mean by dry, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's
But
not all of it, but it's part of it. Yeah. So
right. Yeah. This. Okay. We've talked about this one before, and I forget I forget what you said because it just doesn't sink in because it makes no sense, James. No,
right,
it makes
it's
ton,
completely nonsensical.
no, it makes a lot of sense. Well, so um, the thing that my knee-jerk reaction is, well, okay, so like what about blockers, right? It's like blockers has these well-defined after a bunch of play these at least four different like major types of strategy you employ, right? Like the edge
Okay.
strategy or the dominate the cut through the middle strategy or the two group strategy and things like that. But I kind of feel like maybe that's not exactly what you're talking about. Like maybe what you want is a little bit like a higher level up, like a meta level. Like in all those cases, you're
Sort of,
still
yeah.
in all of those strategies, you're still just trying to get the highest score, right? Like you're still just trying to connect all your pieces and groups. Um,
Yeah, so it's related though. I mean, but
okay.
the way I describe it usually is I want to, and I remember when we were talking about Diver Down in this same way, and you were like, oh, just take out the. At one point, you were suggesting just take out the research, the whole research part,
Right. Right.
just do the
Okay.
mining part. And I was adamant that I did not want to
Right.
do that.
Yeah,
And
and
the
I don't
reason
know.
is
Okay.
I want players to be able to inject their own personality into
Yeah.
the play of the game,
Yeah.
right? I don't feel like
And
I have that opportunity or not much of an opportunity when I'm playing blockers.
right.
So I can
Um,
select a strategy, as you're pointing out, but
yeah.
and so it's not like I don't have choices. I do have
Yeah.
choices. I just don't
Yeah.
feel like I have this opportunity to play James's way. What I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, so it seems like. Um, and of course, as an aside, I don't. I mean, I don't remember what the context was. I mean, I don't remember there ever being a time where I was like, oh, I'm sure this game will be better if you just remove all these cute animals. I mean,
No, no, no.
I always
You just
liked the design process of like, what is this doing for the game? What happens if we remove it? Blah blah blah. You know.
yeah,
Uh, so it
yeah. And
seems
my
okay.
answer sometimes, which I think you never would have this answer, if somebody asks you, "Hey, what is this mechanic doing for you? What is this subsystem doing?" Occasionally, or maybe it's more than occasionally, my answer will be it allows the player to inject themselves into the game, right? It allows them to inject their own personality into the play of the game. I don't know if you are, so is that ever a consideration for you?
Um, I, Apparently not. Uh, is but I think it should be though. I mean, I think but I want to I need to understand it more first. Yeah, I need to
Yeah, like
analyze it.
what does that mean,
I
right?
need to analyze it to death so that I can pin it in. I can pin the dead body of it into my little bug book um, before I can make use of it. This is the way that I do game design. Mm,
So
so
here are a couple of games though that are like Go allows this type. I understand. This is what I've read about Go because I'm not good
okay,
enough at Go to actually to identify. You know what I mean? But they talk about like, that's a bold player. You know, he's making these bold swaths of territory. You know,
yeah.
claims versus a timid player or a defensive player or whatever. And you could consider those just different strategies, but those are not the terms that they use, right?
Right, but I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if this is a like. I mean, I don't know. 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 I how real this distinct, because blockers is a relative of Go, right? I mean, Go is the closest game to blockers in the pantheon of major games, and like you can describe those strategies are like you could describe them as that, as bold. Like the edge strategy is a very sort of defensive, whatever. It's like there are bold, aggressive, hyper aggressive, strategies where you capture a ton. And you have to basically get a single group, whatever, like, but you sense a difference there, right? And maybe it's just a difference.
Maybe I'm wrong,
Or maybe it's a difference of degree. I mean, I'm sure that Go is
I think that may be it.
Go is deeper. Go has, every one of those strategies is going to be more nuanced, than what happens in blockers. But I still sense something else, like that. There's, like Diver Down, it's more like there are two cores of the game that are enmeshed, right? Whereas almost always the games that I've designed have a single core. I mean, is that oversimplified? Is that a fruitful way to put it? It's like the research game in Diver Down is quite different than the treasure hunting, ping finding game, but the two complement each other very well. It's a great mix. Is that all we're really talking about here?
Is it all?
Or is that
might be.
Yeah. I mean, that's good for me.
It's definitely related, yeah.
It helps me analyze so I'm probably being too black and white in my thinking, but it's a handle anyway for me to hang on to.
So
the conclusion is, I mean, I love it in Diver Down, and would love to design more games that have like a dual core system or something like that, and that's collaboration with you helps that, because it's not my natural tendency to do.
That's we can call that the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup design paradigm or something. Design. So I definitely think that's related.
Right. So I mean, so that was one of my possible criticisms of the idea that, like, to me it sounded a little black and white to say that it's like this game allows players to be, what were the words you used? That's pathetic. I can't even repeat back that players can express their own
can inject their personality or express their own personality through the play of the game. Yeah.
Right. So it's sort of, again, it feels like a matter of degree. It's like
I think that's true.
Diver Down has two cores, so it allows so it's wider. But it doesn't have three cores. Like, so there could be somebody who wants to do something in Diver Down that neither of those two cores allows them to do. Right? They can still feel restricted.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously less strategic than blockers, for example.
I don't know. I don't think that's what I was saying.
No, but I'm saying that in addition to what you're saying.
Okay.
So yeah, you could in Diver Down you could play completely research.
Yeah.
You could play completely treasure hunting.
Yep.
You can do some mix of the two.
Yep.
You could react to the board, right? As to which it's like it looks like I should probably be doing. I've been doing treasure hunting for my first 2 turns, but I've only got 4 more turns. I better.
Right.
And I'm going to switch. So yeah, and you get. I think the dual core. So, but if you keep going, then if it's a matter of degree, the board game that I find you can be the most expressive of your personality in is Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition.
Yeah, multi-core.
Yeah, no, yeah, too many cores. Yeah,
Exactly, that's my problem. So there definitely is there's a tension there for me,
yeah, yeah.
right? But I I mean I have always argued uh, that elegance to me is not synonymous with simplicity, right? Elegance
Mm,
is all about how well things fit together, and so that you could have a game with 5 cores that I still consider to be elegant, and
hmm.
so I even think that there's room there for games that I would like. It's really challenging because I'm so it's like everyone is pushing my boundaries of like complexity, how much complexity. So I guess I would say that complexity is the bigger problem there. Well, elegance is really hard too. The more pieces you add, the harder it is to make them all mesh well. Um,
Yeah, complexity by itself is does not become a problem for me in and of itself. It
yeah,
usually is a problem, but what I identify is being a problem is like intuitiveness, maybe.
yeah,
Right, the more complex it is, the less likely it is to be intuitive.
yeah.
And the kind of little rule of thumb I use is if I put it on a shelf and don't play it for 2 or 3 months, can I remember how to play it the next time I get it back off the shelf, right? If I can't, then it's not intuitive, and it also is usually too complex.
Yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
they're necessarily congruent.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful, but
Um, yeah. Uh, so, okay. So what are the uh, are there other elements that Diver Down is would be missing for you, or that like what other direction, or or would you like to just design a game like Diver Down that had 3 cores? Or 4 cores or something like that. Is that a direction? Is that a reasonable direction to even consider thinking about? Like, and maybe you can't really decide from the outset, how many
I
cores
can't
your game is going to
because
have. But
no.
I'm trying to
So
ask, like, what kinds of things are you shooting for? How do you look at game design from a real high level here?
it doesn't work like that for me.
Yeah.
Remember,
Okay.
for me, it's a compulsion.
Yeah. Okay.
So one of your earlier questions was why can't I just
Yeah.
continuously churn out games that I love?
Well, even if it's one every 5 years or whatever, like,
Yeah,
um,
and the answer is it doesn't work that way
it
for
doesn't
me.
work that way. Yeah.
And this also goes back to another question that you asked, I don't know, last episode or whatever, but last episode you were asking whether I would be satisfied or something publishing a game that I thought was bad, right? That I designed.
Yeah.
And I don't think so, but there are at least two different criteria by which I would be satisfied publishing a game by, and one is I think it's good, well designed, and the other is I really enjoy it.
Right.
So I think Diver Down has both, but I have self-published even some at least one game that I think is well designed, but I don't love it, but I think it's
Yeah.
pretty good design.
Well,
Uh,
right. And I also make this distinction, right? Like we talked about Dominion, for instance, a game that I think
right,
is I
right.
think is a really good game.
Yep.
I don't personally like it. And yeah, and so
So I don't remember. Did I ask you? Would you have been satisfied having created and published Dominion?
I think it's a for me it's a weird question because um, it's funny for me to complain about hypotheticals, but it's a weirdly hypothetical question because it's so unlikely. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
let's travel to a magical world
Yeah.
in which you designed Dominion.
I just can't think this way, James. It doesn't
Right.
make any sense. Mm, It's like, yeah, well, yeah, because it's so hard for me to imagine that it ever getting there, like, um, but yeah, no, I wouldn't. It would be a hassle. Like getting things published is a big hassle. But I certainly wouldn't. But those are the kind of issues I would have. Yeah, and so see, it's getting back into the other topic we've talked so much about. But the other question is, if I actually thought the game was bad, like a bad game that I created, and I put those in a drawer. I have no interest in publishing them, and I have no interest in helping other people publish them. Like I don't want to help people play test those and meet their own goals. And it's like, you guys go do whatever you want. So like LCR, I wouldn't want to help with that. And if I had designed it, I would put it in a drawer. But yeah, different topic though.
Kind of.
Is it?
Before we were talking about 4-star games, and you're aiming for 4-star games, but we were talking about it in mechanical terms, engineering terms. But then you said
that's the thing. Yeah,
that's also not sufficient, right? Craftsmanship is not sufficient for a great game. It's what's the term, right? Required but not sufficient.
Yeah, necessary.
So, necessary but not sufficient. Yeah. Correct. So I'm asking about what about this same star rating for how much you love the game? Are you also not interested in publishing anything unless it's a 4-star, both in terms of craftsmanship and also in terms of how much you love the game?
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in publishing the ones that I don't love, but like I said, I think that's mostly just because of the hassle of it, like the amount of work that it takes to publish anything. So it's laziness.
So, in the magic world where you could snap your fingers and the game would suddenly appear on store shelves.
Yeah. And who knows, I'm more attracted to things that I created. Probably I would just enjoy Dominion more if I had made it. I would understand all the nuances of it because I will have play tested it for the years that it took to design it, and there's subjective stuff in there too. So
sure, that's
true. I probably would. I mean, of course, it would be satisfying to make something that was popular to me. For me, it would, because I do care about recognition to some extent still, stuff like that.
Oh, I thought you were getting over that.
Trying. Fortunately, we're not going to have to worry about this problem of me making a game that gets popular like Dominion. So yeah, it's all hypothetical.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, back on. Let's talk more about Diver Down, or this territory of so do you, of adding a third core, like making a game that has 3 cores or 4 cores. Specifically, let's also talk about, so there was this things that you removed from Diver Down.
Right.
And so what value do you find in that angle? Like, so that was stuff that I didn't particularly like. So was that angling towards like a third core? Like, is there something I'm missing there? Like, why do you perceive I didn't like that stuff? And do you think that it could be fixed up in a way that I would like it? Like, is it?
No.
Okay. And
you weren't the only one. Like there were several people, because originally it had money. There was a market for selling the treasures. And stuff like that. And the reason all that stuff was actually in there to begin with was because of the game's origin.
Okay.
So, which was Everblue 2, right? So
sure.
That's the reason that stuff started out in there. It wasn't ever kind of in there like on purpose. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, but like after it was there, did it possibly count as another element, like maybe it didn't, another, like, could it have counted as a third way that people could express their personalities, or really it was just sort of one?
No. Well,
Okay.
okay. So it was mostly just another layer, right?
Yeah. Okay. But
It was
yeah.
another layer, and you could be expressive within that layer, but you're
Yeah.
expressing the same things
Yeah.
as
Okay.
you would. So the two cores that are currently in Diver Down, the dichotomy there is between safety and risk, right?
Mm.
Um, because the research is all safe points. You see it all.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some amount of investment, right? Um, so it's a longer term. It's more strategic.
Yeah.
Strategic and lower risk versus tactical higher risk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and then of course you can have some mix. So
Yeah.
the other layers that were in there were the same thing. There was
Yeah.
like the market was, oh, I want to wait until the prices get higher, but the market might bust, right? Well, that's
Yeah.
the same thing. You're still just expressing how risk averse or how fine, how much you like risk. Uh, but could there be a third core in that game? I would want it to be something. I think my feeling is offhand that I would, if so, I would want it to be something that is a third, makes sense with the dichotomy that's already there
Yeah.
as
You
a
want to
third option.
you want a triangle.
Right,
You
which
want. Yeah.
risk versus safety is kind of two things, and
Yeah. I
it's
know what you mean.
and you can play within here. So if I set about to design a game with three or more cores, I would look for things that are already, you know what I mean? I would look for cores that are naturally in a triangle or naturally in
Yeah.
a square if you wanted to do
Yep.
four.
Yep. Neat. No, that's cool. Um, okay, good. That answers some questions I had about Diver Down. Um, uh, what do you? Oh man, tell me this. Maybe this is just a side note, but tell me about Diamant a little. Tell me the thing that you like, or things that you like about Diamant, because it's not findy stuff.
Nope.
Nope.
It's pressure luck. I like pressure luck.
Okay. Right.
Simple
Well.
as that. And
Yep.
it's the best pressure luck game there is, in
Okay.
my opinion. I mean,
Uh,
I would have said Can't Stop was, and then Diamant
and then
came along, and
Diamant. Okay.
that'll take it.
I don't know which one I like better. I like them both. Um,
So here's something interesting, though.
well, and by the way, for our viewers, Diver Down has a press your luck element,
It does. Yeah,
right?
that's a good point. It
Yeah.
does, actually, yeah.
Yep. With the way you're diving, you can
Uh,
decide to turn up more tiles in a
yep,
spot.
yep.
It's
And that
awesome.
actually,
It's one of my favorite
yeah,
games. One of my favorite games of all time.
I enjoy it. So, well,
Yep.
but here's something that I did identify in pressure luck games, and then also in like Carcassonne, right? Carcassonne is findy,
Yeah.
but one aspect that I really like about both of those types of games is cooperation, collaboration, in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So in it, I can't help it when I'm playing a pressure luck game. I can't help offering advice, right?
I know. I know.
I'll let you know, dude. You should totally go for that. No, and then explain why I think that, right?
Yeah. And
For me,
Carcassonne.
that's like
Carcassonne is notorious.
Carcassonne. I play
It's
the same.
notorious for this.
I know.
Actually, for
Some people don't like.
I know.
Exactly.
I really
Some
like
people don't
it.
like me doing it.
I really
So Diver
enjoy
Down's
that.
got the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I actually started tracking how many people want to be helped, or basically want helping to be allowed to actually spot the treasures.
Yeah.
And it came out really
More than-
close, like 40-60 after I
Okay.
collected.
More
Yeah,
than
it was
which
around
one-
half and
on
half, like
which
half. I don't remember on which
Yeah,
side, but
okay.
it was close enough to half and half that I called it half and half. Like
Yep.
half the players wanted everybody to be helpful and help point out the treasures, and the other half
Yeah.
were like, no,
Yeah.
no, that's the puzzle of the game.
That's the
That's the
game,
fun, is
yeah.
being able to spot those. I
Yeah.
mean, So I don't even know what the real answer is. I sort of can't help it, you know. I kind of
Yep,
like, oh yeah, there's three treasures on the
I
board.
know, I know.
So
Well, yeah,
um,
and
I
that
was
all
just so
works.
again that it's like it's a type of collaboration or
Yeah,
cooperation in the game, you know, even when it's
yeah,
not intended.
I know. Well, yeah, there's something people in Zendo. People have often commented on that. I mean, we saw it, and then other people have commented on it without hearing us comment on it. How it becomes cooperative when the rule is hard. The more people struggle, the more those walls start breaking down, and everybody's like, "Oh, we aren't competing anymore." You know, like people start talking more and saying, "Yeah, did you think about?" And then when you get an idea, suddenly it becomes, uh,
You
competitive
try to
again.
own it.
Yeah, yeah. Suddenly you're onto something, and now it's like, oh no, no, I think I can win. I think
Yeah,
and you shut up. And but I love that
yeah.
interplay. That
Hey,
interplay.
that's probably one of the reasons I love Zendo.
Yeah,
That's probably one of the reasons is because
right.
it also has that aspect to it.
Yep.
Like you
There.
can
Yeah.
cooperative. You could totally play it cooperatively,
Yep.
right?
So yeah, 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 yeah. On different. Yeah, you can move that slider all the way over and just be like, oh,
Yeah, that's
I don't
interesting.
care who
Your
wins.
your point is interesting that you can slide it during play. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah,
Of course, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that in Carcassonne too, right? You're
yeah.
like, ooh, now you're getting close to the end and the points are tight. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
You keep my mouth
Yep.
shut. You could.
Yep.
I can't keep my mouth
I
shut.
know. No, it's yeah. These are see. So I feel like um, I mean I feel like there's a lot of overlap in the things that you and I like about games, and I think there's a lot of overlap with other people as well in these kinds of things. Um,
Well, then why? Then if there's so much, if you think there's a lot of overlap with the kinds of things other people like, why do people keep publishing and
nah,
why do people keep playing? So many games that are no, they're not appealing to me, and I assume not to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
How does that keep happening then? Right? Uh, Wondrous variety, as you were pointing out before, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, I, one of the things I've been thinking about is how like so much of like things that I've written about game design or said about game design in a way they're pretty mundane. Like I whenever I write about stuff, it tends to be like that lowest um, mechanical level, because that's like it feels the most the craftsmanship part because it feels the most objective. It feels like that's the only thing that I really feel like I know what to say about. Uh, uh, and I haven't. It's a lot harder to talk about like where these core ideas come from. Like there's and sometimes they're just taken, but it's like the core idea of Zendo or the core idea of Pictionary or the core, right? Like the question of like where do you get those uh, and like does it help to so like if we start with sort of like a bunch of the stuff we've talked about tonight as values, it's like, oh yeah, we love it when there's this interplay between cooperative and competitive stuff. There's a slider that you can change during the game, and there's the findy elements and the push your luck elements and all this stuff. It's like it doesn't, can, you know, it's like my systemizing brain wants to just start with all of those and say, okay, great, let's just think up some ideas that fit all these criteria. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Sure,
and
sure.
you're suggesting that it doesn't really work that way, right? So how does it work? Where do we?
Not for me.
Uh, yeah. Um,
Well, so I well, that's I don't know. I guess it's a good question.
Yeah, so like Diver.
So yeah, I usually start from some. Yeah, Diver Down started with this point of
Yeah,
inspiration, right? I
yeah,
was enjoying the hell out of that video game, and I'm like, I want something that I can like. I wanted a I've mentioned before that this kind of preference for the idea of board games, the primitiveness of board games,
yep,
um, and wanted to play with more people, right? I wanted to make that a multiplayer experience and
yeah,
blah blah blah, and then it just sort of evolved or
yeah.
devolved from there into what it is. So I don't know that I've ever started with these set. I've started with principles before, or at least
Okay.
I don't know if I've started with them, but kept them in mind. So I do have sort of guiding or overarching principles, like, but they're not really related. Maybe they're
Hmm.
like anytime you can remove numbers from components, do so. That kind of thing. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is
Okay.
that related? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't know if it's related or not. Um,
Mm,
yeah. I'm just wondering
so
if, like, how possible is it to steer a design? Maybe that's what I'm hoping is that
uh,
if we keep these ideas in mind, then you can start to steer things once you have something in front of you. Maybe you start with Everblue 2, but then as you start working on your diving game, you're like, well, I'd really like it to have some findy. It's treasure hunting, so it's got to have some findy element, right? And then it's like,
mhm.
I'd like to, um,
Yeah. So
but
one of the things that I would really love to play,
yeah,
I would love to play a truly cooperative game. So maybe that means it's got to be a video game. I'm still not positive one way or the other about that.
yeah,
A truly cooperative treasure hunting game. Man, I want that so bad.
yep,
I
uh,
mean, we got a little bit of that in the theater, Battle Block Theater,
um,
right?
yeah, okay, sure,
Because
sure, yeah,
just,
yeah,
but that's more like it wasn't so cooperative. It was more like spotting it. Hey, you're there. Hey, did you check behind this spot? Right?
yeah,
So that's got some of that in there. But I like the actual root of the game. We've talked before about some various
totally,
concepts for treasure hunting games, and if some of those concepts could appear in a real cooperative game, so that it's logistically not possible for you to play by
yeah,
yourself. Oh,
yeah.
oh. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I maybe we should do a whole episode on findy stuff, like to analyze. Because there's challenges there of like,
Yeah.
what does it really mean to find something? Like to really find something. Actually, do you want to give a really short um, explanation of your distinction between finding and locating?
Sure. Yeah, my
Yeah.
distinction between finding and locating is whether somebody put it there for you to locate. So
Huh.
that's location. To me, that's location. That's the sort of the simplest explanation I can give. So, to give an example, those spot the difference puzzles, right? Oh, there are six differences between these two
Right.
pictures that otherwise look very similar. That you locate those differences, and this may be an abuse of the English language. I don't know, but for me, that's the distinction.
Okay.
Locating means it's known that these things exist. So to me,
Okay.
findy, something that's findy means it may not exist.
Right. Okay. So there is a distinction here. So that what you just said is the distinction that I have been making. Um, it's that, and it's technically a little bit different than whether somebody put it there or not. Yeah, to me, the most interesting distinction is as a player, do you know whether or not that thing is there? Yeah, if you know that something is there, then you're locating it. Um, if you're not sure that
Okay.
something's there, you're finding it. Um,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. So Yeah, there. Well, it's a clear distinction because actually in Battle Block Theater, they've all been placed by humans,
Yep.
and yet since they don't tell you how many there are, you only know when you found all of them, right?
Well,
That's the
that's
only time
I
they tell
can't
you, oh, you found
I
all of them.
can't I can't remember that. I think that you start a level and you don't really know, but I think maybe you get to find at
Correct.
the end of the level it'll tell you if
Yes, it will tell you
if
at the
you've
end of the
missed
level. That's right.
some. Right.
Yes, but
So,
you actually will know during play if you have found them all. If
right.
you're paying attention, you remember it like flashes, like
That's
oh, there
right.
were five, and you find the fifth
Right.
one, and it woo, you get this little whatever
Right.
sparkle or whatever that tells you, yes, you have found them all.
Yeah. So
So I
like
don't know. For me,
in
that's to me that's still locating.
yeah, I think it is. Where so in a simple example is Bejeweled or any match
Yeah,
3 game. The very
yeah.
first match you're locating. Like in most normal match 3 games, there's guaranteed to be one match on the board somewhere. Uh,
Right.
and then every other match after that you're finding because that might be the you don't know if there are more matches on the board, right?
Most match three games now guarantee that there's a match on the board.
Right,
So
and
the original
that means you're
Bejeweled, yeah, guaranteed.
that means you're locating. The first match you're locating
No, to
every
me, you're still finding because they weren't put there by somebody.
okay,
See,
so
that's what I'm saying. It's
I
actually
think that's
we're using
I,
this differently.
right. Well, I think there's two ideas here, and they're both interesting.
Yeah, I think you're
Uh,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
To me, the most decisive or the more interesting one to me has been
Well,
um, whether you as the second idea that we've mentioned, whether you as a player know whether that thing is there or not. Ah, I think I lost James. Well, that was a good run. Uh, let's see. I'm going to give him a minute to see if he can log back in. Uh, right, but in the meantime, let me recap that. Finding and locating, we actually have come up with two different ideas there. There are two, I think, maybe orthogonal ideas. One idea is whether or not a thing that somebody could look for or somebody could find, whether it has been placed there on purpose by a designer, or if they're just generated. Like for instance, in a game of Bejeweled, all matches are just emerge from the setup of the board, which is just random numbers. And then there's an orthogonal concept, which is, do you know for sure that a thing exists that you're looking for? If it doesn't exist, if you don't know that it exists, you're finding stuff. If you know for sure that this thing exists, you're locating it. So we need some words. We need some better words, I think, for these concepts. And then that'll help us design great stuff. I might need to invite him. Hold on. Weird. Hmm.
I'm trying.
All right. I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how long this is gonna last. Looks
All right.
shaky. I heard you were giving people a recap.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah. So we'll. That's cool, actually. I'm glad we talked about this because I couldn't remember if my concept was the same as yours. Ah, did I lose you again? Hmm. Well, I'm going to invite him one more time. And then I'm going to check my notes, because I always have notes on all this stuff from the last week. But you know, if anybody who wants James and I to collaborate on a groundbreaking, perfect game, write in the comments that you think we should get together and do that. I think it sounds like a great idea. Right. Here's my notes. All the different things we could talk about tonight. My vague thoughts about collaboration. Here's one we didn't talk about tonight. Why is James okay with the idea of, or why does he think it's possible to find one person he wants to spend his life with, but he doesn't think it's possible to find a single game that he'll keep playing for the rest of his life, or exclusively play for the rest of his life? Is it just variety? Why is that important? Oh, yeah. Are you back?
Oh, yeah. That's what I just heard. I came back.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
I hear, oh.
Why? Oh, yeah. I'm reading over my notes to see what other things.
Can you lick your lips salaciously when you say that, please?
I can.
Your thin potato chip lips.
So why? Oh, that's.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Why?
yeah.
So James, why are you feeling less and less compelled to play games?
Because I hate them.
Okay, is it because of all the stuff you talked about? Is it because they so often disappoint?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. We talked about grinding.
Maybe.
No, let's talk about grinding on some
Ooh,
other.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Grinding. Oh yeah.
Damn. What about you know what? We can probably wrap this up pretty soon, actually. But you know which game? This is apropos to disappointment and treasure hunting games. The board game Tobago.
Yeah.
Oh man, I looked at the back of that box, and I opened it and looked at the components, and I was like, oh yeah. Damn.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's what.
Right. Yep.
And it was so disappointing. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it was
not terrible.
It was not what I wanted. In that, I mean,
not even. Right.
Not even really a little bit. Like I don't even think there's a findy element to that game, really. Right? It's all very logical. You're all
right.
Or it maybe in the meta level puzzle of, oh, I found this move. I can play this card that will restrict the territory on the board to put the treasure right. But
yeah, that's what was weird about it, was
not
like having that control over it and stuff.
It didn't feel anything like actually discovering a treasure out there. It felt like I was magically making a treasure appear due to my strategic choices.
Yes.
But that's such a good example of a game. I mean, it has these it seemed so adventure-y. It's like it felt like it had these two things that I like. It's kind of abstract and kind of mechanic-y, but also like lush, green, jungly, treasure and all this. Yeah, I really want that. And I mean, and Diver Down has this with the dive. It's the diving treasure hunting theme instead of um,
Hmm.
that jungle adventure kind of thing. Um, but I still,
Yeah,
but
and and another one would be that was disappointing that had that similar theme that I thought I was really gonna like was gold
Gold Gold Land, Goldland.
Goldland.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
By,
And I almost liked it, but
I know, I
it's
know.
got some of the
Yeah.
mechanisms in it are quite good.
Yep.
But it's got this really weird thing. I can't even remember.
I
But
know. I
the, as
can't. I
like
honestly,
it's
I only played it once, and I couldn't do it again because I was so disappointed.
I
Um,
still own it, so we
yeah.
can play it next time
Do
I
I owe you for Tobago? I
I
do,
wasn't
don't
going to
I?
mention it. No,
I
remember I gave it to you.
I
I gave it
know.
to you because I had it
Yeah, and
still
I
in
needed it.
shrink.
I needed
Yeah,
a,
okay,
a
yep.
gift, a prize
Needed a
table.
game. Yep. So
Yep.
I gave it to you, and I said someday, give me some game someday.
Yep.
But if you forget, I don't care. So
Yep. No, it's still coming. It's coming. Well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a game that you will like. Right?
that's yeah, okay.
So,
So
yeah.
buy me a copy of Diver Down.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I mean, maybe we should. But so Diver Down is maybe you've already answered it, but it is not too well, obviously, for what it is, it's not too abstract for you. But do you also want some games that are not that abstract? And what does that even mean?
Right. Well, so yeah, what it means is maybe a whole different topic.
Yeah, okay.
Um, so for me personally, no, I
Okay.
don't really miss the some of the elements that were taken out. Um, some of the other players that have played a lot of the
Yeah.
iterations have commented, yes, they do. They follow that with, but it's a better game now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, um,
But I mean, like, um, can you think of less abstract games that you like as much as Diver Down? I mean,
not yet, but I'm working on it.
okay.
So,
And,
Stone of Destiny. I like Stone of
yeah,
Destiny a
okay.
lot, which is another prototype of mine,
Yeah,
right?
I like it as well. It hasn't come up as much in these discussions.
No, it hasn't because it's still like Diver Down. I consider done. I mean,
Okay.
we can print that as is,
Yeah.
and I'm totally satisfied with it. I'm happy with it. Um, and Stone of Destiny isn't quite there yet. I haven't, I should go back to it again because I really enjoy playing Stone of Destiny.
Yeah.
Uh, and I consider that more thematic, if
Okay.
that was one thing you were angling for.
Yeah. That's a good. So maybe we should talk more about that sometime. Yeah. I mean, I only played that once, and so I should
Hmm.
play it more. It's yeah. I mean, it definitely has this quality of that where I feel a little bit my analytical skills um, run aground when things get more thematic.
Mm,
It's really interesting. Like to me, that game feels mushy in my head. Like I can't really put my finger on what I think is missing from it or is too much about it, or it's like I feel like it doesn't hit the spot for me the way Diver Down does. I kind of feel like
right.
it could, you know, but I don't know. I don't understand that style of
So one
design
one
enough,
thing about it,
you know.
sure. Well, remember that one part of it is purposefully mushy.
That's
You
right.
remember how the spells work?
Yes, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like that's mushy on purpose.
exactly,
Like
yeah,
that like in a way that perhaps makes it unpublishable in a
maybe,
traditional sense,
yeah,
right?
possibly. I
It's
mean,
like you can't just You can't just say you can
I know. I know.
make stuff up like
Yep.
that, right? But
I
you
know.
can. It works. It
You're
works in the
right.
game.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, that's definitely an element that I was uncomfortable with, given my,
and
you know.
that's my favorite part of it.
I
It's
know.
like,
But I also like it. I genuinely like that. So I'm willing to push those boundaries. Yeah. So those are, I
yeah,
mean, D&D is of course the other game that comes to mind whenever I kind of talk around it because it's so huge. It's such a huge topic.
it
Um,
really is.
and I haven't played
So
it.
hey,
I haven't played it much.
no, well, and of course Chalker is the one to talk to about that, really,
Yeah.
right? Um, but I recently, yeah, maybe it's too early to discuss this.
Okay.
I have a design that's got just a few pages of notes so far, but its core inspiration is D&D Fourth Edition,
Yeah.
and it has the potential to be end up as something you might be interested in.
Okay.
I'm not. That's enough said about it at the moment, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Intriguing. Um,
Yeah, it's at that point in my brain where it's like, it's like this big gooey cinnamon roll in my brain right
yeah.
now. It's like,
Yeah.
so,
I mean,
oh,
I'd like to hear more about what you think. Like, given all the things that we've said ever in our lives. Um,
yes, yes, of which I remember
yep.
all of.
In,
I remember 110% of it. Yes.
yep. Incorporate them all into your answer. Um,
Hmm.
it's like, can I like a game like D&D? Like, um,
You?
yeah. It's like,
I think maybe no.
yeah.
I
That's what
think,
I'm
well,
wondering.
can you like it? Yes. Can you like it? I think you can like it. I don't know if you're ever going to love it.
Yeah. And
It's
what do you
too
think is
soft. It's like a
it's too soft?
physicist loving psychology.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's not going to happen, right?
Well, so that's interesting because my initial complaint would be the complexity, not the softness. It's just,
Really?
yeah. I mean, that's the way it feels to me right off the top of my head.
Well, I think that's what generates the complexity, though, is the
Okay, the
softness.
softness. Okay, that might be true. Um,
In that case, I think you could
yeah,
have. I mean, on the other end would be something like Starfleet Command or something, where there is no softness, and yet it is hugely complex, right?
yeah, yeah. Right.
But I think in the case of something like D&D 4E, a lot of the complexity comes from that softness. And with
Okay.
this, what I want to take is that as a core inspiration is actually not the softness. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I want to strip out the mechanical accommodations for the softness.
Mm. Yeah, I might like
Uh,
that.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I want to. This is an interesting topic. My one of my overarching complaints is similar to a thing your complaint about Take It Easy. This goes all the way back, um, which is just how fucking slow D&D is. Like you play it all day, and like you go through 2 rooms of a dungeon or something. Like
Yeah,
I'm so used to computer games have always been my fix uh, for role playing stuff because you can get so much more done in an 8-hour session of playing a computer game.
get so much more done. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
you
So to answer
you
your previous question, the answer is no. You
no.
will never,
if
ever, ever,
if
ever
I
love this
say
type of game. If you say
if
you
I'm
can
saying
get
things
so
like
much more done
yeah,
playing a computer game than you can play
but
than you can when you're playing, yeah, I know what you're
but you
saying.
know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying, but it's also indicative of something.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
right. So there, part of it is the. You're right. Um,
But
well,
how
I have a
big an
couple of
issue is that?
responses to that. I
Yeah.
have a couple of responses to that. One is part of it is I think a lot of that stuff could be trimmed out, and in
Yeah.
this new design that I'm thinking of, It is intended to be played in 3 hours.
Yeah. That
Three
sounds good.
1 hour scenes.
Okay.
There are also D&D scenarios that are intended to be played that way. There's a whole book of them, in fact. Um,
Right.
yeah, so part of the whole D&D experience, of course, is did you play at my house? I'm trying to
Yes.
remember.
Yep.
You did.
Yep.
So
And
and
I
it
didn't hate
takes
it.
no, but it takes like 2 or 3 times as long as it would have to because because of the style of the very social way that we play,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah. I don't know if that's what
no,
I'm
I don't think
complaining
that's the
about.
part you're objecting to. That's in
Yeah.
addition. Again,
Right.
that's additional information. It's one of the things that I enjoy about playing.
Yeah.
We play once a month, so. But yeah, so this more distilled experience that has the same core. Maybe I'll be interested to hear your reaction to it if I ever
Yeah.
get
Okay.
that far, which I think I might. I think I might get to the prototype stage with this.
Yeah.
It feels like it's got enough momentum that I can do that.
Yeah. So I mean, are you looking for a collaboration on that kind of project and who would?
Sure,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. So
Uh,
what is it about those ideas?
except at this point, I don't feel stuck, right? So.
Right, exactly. I was going to say. So where, I mean, where do you get stuck in those? I mean, are you stuck on Stone of
Yeah, that's a
Destiny?
good question. Stone of Destiny is not stuck. I felt kind of stuck, and Jeff Stahl got me a little bit unstuck, and I just haven't
Okay.
followed up on it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so
I did.
what do you tend to get stuck on?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can
Yeah.
generalize or not. I'm
Okay.
trying to think of some other games that I've. Well, Jesus, so many prototypes laying around.
Yep.
So what do you tend to get stuck on? You get to a point and you put something in a drawer. What is it that causes you to put a design in a drawer? Is it because you feel stuck? You just feel it's not worth it anymore,
Um
uh, worth pursuing? For what reason?
uh there's well, depends on what counts as putting it in the drawer. I mean, like the simplest. So, I mean, one kind of getting stuck for me is the is I think this is a really strong core, but there's at least one mechanical problem, or maybe it's just an inelegance, maybe it's just a rule that I hate that I think is not necessary. That I want to find. Well, it's there for a reason. I can't remove it, but I want to remove it. And that I would call more like putting on the back burner rather than putting in a drawer. Uh,
So
and
wait. So
that's a thing.
okay,
And I feel actually optimistic about those things. I feel
right.
like
And so you would not look for a collaborator in those kinds of
well,
situations.
I do. I essentially, like I said, I view all playtesting as collaboration. So I do. I always I play it with people, and I say, yeah, here's the problem I have, and and that's how I got unstuck on Jules. Some other playtester finally made the key suggestion that I needed. You know, realistically, most people don't um, have the same problems that I do. So playtesters are really shooting in the dark, trying to please me. Like so they're, so um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but they
I
can
mean,
they can spray suggestions, and
absolutely.
you can look at
They,
the pattern that makes on the wall and go, ooh,
yeah,
maybe you're right there, right?
yeah. I mean, it might not.
Uh,
I don't. Yeah, but I feel like those things. Uh, so far, my experience has been there. I always find solutions. Sometimes it takes 5 years or something like that.
okay,
But
well, right.
I'm very patient about that. I don't care how long it takes.
So I
The
don't
things
consider that in the drawer then.
Right. The things in the drawer are where I just feel like the core idea after having play tested and searched around. the core idea isn't strong enough. It's not interesting enough.
Okay.
I think that's ultimately what,
And yet,
uh,
you keep it around for possible
sure.
whatever merging with another core later in a different
Yep.
game or something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah. So there's not
So
really
what?
any kind of throwing out stuff.
So what kinds of things are in your drawers? Tell me what's in your drawers.
Yes. Well, I have this entire line of lingerie prototypes that I've made. Um, yeah, all involving push your luck elements, of course. Um,
Oh yeah, it's quite pushing. Yeah, pressure like.
yeah. Uh, yeah. I don't.
So
I
right,
yeah. This is actually it's an interesting topic though. That there seems to be a pretty big difference here, maybe in the way we view like getting stuck. I don't even.
yeah.
It's like getting stuck is a really mechanical thing for me usually. Um, uh,
And I think for me, it can be mechanical, but really, I guess kind of part of the where I'm designing from is, especially more and more, the older I get, this direction I'm designing from or toward maybe is how the game feels,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Right. And see, I think this is a challenge that you feel more. I mean, I think I've made my job easier on myself by sticking with these, you know, simpler, more abstract designs. Because like the blockers, almost everything, Zendo and Rambots and like the feel was there in practically the first playtest. It's like, oh, okay, I know my core. My core and blockers. It's like, yeah, the core is you've got tiles that tell you what row or column or region of the board they can be played in, and you're trying to make contiguous groups. And it's like it was good immediately. It was like, yep, I just want to distill that. I just want to make the simplest game I can make that is fun. That with that at the core. And so that's all that getting stuck really means is like, oh, I've got a problem. That's what happened in that game. It's like,
Mm.
oh, we got this hand clogging problem. It's like just given that simple core, people's hands are getting clogged up with these unplayable tiles. What do I do? And that's all. It's like design is nothing more than just solving those problems somehow. And then when I solve them to my satisfaction, they're done. That's what I said. And then there's this meta level of like, where do those cores come from? I don't talk nearly as much about that because I don't know how it works. I don't know where. I mean, you just try a bunch of ideas and stuff, but like, you know, um, so you're more in I think territory where you're actually you're trying to find the feeling maybe of a game
Yeah,
or like yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's harder. I don't know how to do that. Uh,
And maybe that's helps explain my personal disappointment with most games, right? Is
yeah.
they're not giving me some whatever feeling I'm they're not filling this big hole in my
Yes.
life.
Yeah. I kind of.
Well, I've said it before. All I really want in life is treasure hunting lesbians. That's all I
Yeah.
really want in
Right.
life.
Yep. Yep. And these goddamn board games are not providing it.
They're not. I have
Like,
never seen a treasure hunting lesbian game.
yep.
Damn it.
As they should. I don't know what's wrong with people. Yeah. That's yeah. How do you go from a feeling, maybe a somewhat
Uh,
vague feeling,
yeah, I know.
to game mechanics? But yeah, yet
Partly by making them mushy.
yeah.
Well, in
I mean,
certain cases, if that's what I'm looking for.
yeah. But sometimes it's like the feeling. It feels so. Maybe it's not clear, but it's strong at least. I mean that the feeling that I had looking at Tobago for the first time.
Yeah.
It's like that was pretty strong, and it kind of feels
Yeah,
clear.
right. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
so
And
why
yet,
can't why
they didn't
can't
hit it.
Right, and why can't we hit it? Why can't we just go, okay, they didn't hit it, so let's just sit down and design our treasure hunting board game that has
Yes.
that feeling, you know?
That leap, that jump
Yep,
is pretty tough.
yep,
Um, yeah, and partly because all right, so dig this, right? One of
yep.
the things that I like to play that we've our role playing group has done before is to play without a system,
Yeah, okay.
no role playing system whatsoever.
Yep. That's actually always appealed to me. I don't know if that
Hmm.
surprises you, but yeah,
No,
go
no,
on.
because and
Yeah,
so
because it's simplicity.
you can establish any feeling in that, right?
Yeah,
So when you start to add mechanics to a game, you you are altering its flavor
yeah,
or possibly distilling its flavor, but whatever you're
yeah.
affecting the flavor, right? So
Right.
that's what makes it difficult. You need to actually finding the mechanics. It's like this one-way implication. You've got this set of mechanics. You get this flavor from it, right?
Yeah,
But to go the other direction, to start with this flavor and go, oh, what mechanics does that
yeah,
imply?
yeah.
It might say something. It might inform some of your, it informs your decisions, obviously, when
Sure.
you're shaping the design. But it doesn't like, oh yeah, you want a game that feels like this? You put this in it and this in it, and
Yeah.
the,
Yep.
um, I don't know. I don't. What else is like that?
Hmm.
What else do you create? I mean, is cooking like that? You're looking for a particular flavor,
Yeah.
actual flavor. You know what sorts of things go in it, or is cooking more straightforward? I don't even know if that's useful.
I don't either. I don't know how cooking works. I mean, yeah, does music work this way? I
Right.
mean,
See, that's a good question.
I
Uh,
mean, I'm a musician and I don't know, you know?
yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, tell me. Does it?
I
Does it
don't
work that
know.
way?
I can't.
How does that how does that work? Do you guys write your own songs, or do you perform existing
Yeah,
songs, or a
we
mix?
both a mix. That's
A
what we
mix.
did. A mix,
And so,
yeah.
do you all four of you actually write songs, and do your songs have
Oh,
lyrics?
yes and yes. We
Yes and
all
yes.
we all four wrote at least one song at some point.
Wow. You
I
like the
mean,
Beatles?
yep, in all ways, I would say.
Exactly like the Beatles. Yes,
Yeah.
including the haircuts. And so, uh, what is the similarity
uh,
there?
I I don't know, man. It's
So you have written songs, you have designed games. How similar were those experiences for you? I mean, do you like distill out the song? Do you go, oh, this song needs trimming. It's got too much going on, too many notes, as they say, right?
right. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I have a similar temperament when it comes to design of all kinds. I'm a perfectionist, um, and I'm abrasive,
I
and
don't know what perfectionist means in terms of I maybe
of
don't even know what it
music.
means in terms of game design, but in terms of music, certainly not.
Yeah, I don't remember anymore, man. That was another life. It's another.
I mean, did everything you write sound like Philip Glass or something?
No, I know that's the funny.
Minimalist?
Yeah, I'm a minimalist perfectionist about um, you know, Little Richard rock and roll songs. It doesn't make any.
Right, right, right. Well, no, no. Actually, this is a serious comparison too, because I'm interested to know if not, why in games and not music?
Which
Why? So you started to mention that your design aesthetic or your creative aesthetic is the same in both, right? Is that
well,
true?
there's similar. I mean, it's in some ways it's I think it's true. Yeah,
In some ways.
that I have a relatively minimalist um, perspective on song construction and like it was a lot. It's a lot looser. I don't know. Music was. I mean, I think as a game designer, I have tended to be like a classical musician, right? Like I think of the kinds of games that I kind of like. They're Bach-like, like
Mm.
Knizia is. So I think of Knizia as like the Bach of game design. Last time I called him the James Brown of game
That's
design,
right.
but he's both. He's
Yes, he's the he's the
he's
Bach Brown
yep,
of
yep.
game design.
Mm,
He's the Bachman Turner Overdrive of game design.
yeah. Um, but and I wasn't into classical music um, uh, as a musician. I was into like swing, early jazz and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm hitting the wall on this topic. It's a big, interesting topic.
It is to me. Yeah.
I think there are lots of similarities. I was certainly a perfectionist. I certainly drove my band members nuts with my perfectionism. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I would, there would be certain things, song construction wise, that would just rub me the wrong way. I'd be like, nope, nope, that's wrong. It's not how you write a song, like things like that. So there's
Even
obviously a temperamental similarity, but then there are other aspects of it that, I mean, it's not nearly as objective. It's like there aren't rules and consequences. There aren't. Songs feel a bit more like creations than discoveries. To me, game design feels more like discovery when you're at this particular realm, and there isn't the same sort of like.
but could there be?
Yeah, maybe there actually. I don't. You know what? There's been other times when I've argued more the opposite when it comes to music. So you're just catching me at a time when I just haven't thought about music in years, essentially. So I don't know. I don't know. I think yeah, it's a big topic.
Maybe we can revisit it some other time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
'Cause,
think we can. I think I want to revisit the D&D topic in general. Maybe we should just do an episode on role-playing games. Uh,
when we have Chalker on, let's do that.
okay. Yeah, that would be awesome. Uh, and then
Because
and we could.
he has published designs in both. He's got
Yeah,
published board games
yeah,
and published role-playing games. I mean, I would consider him an expert
yep,
in both worlds.
yep.
So it'd be interesting to get his perspective, I think.
Absolutely. I think we might get him on within the month or something. We got to look at his
Oh, cool.
schedule, but he wants to
Yeah,
he wants to hang with us at some point. So we'll
that'd be
make that
awesome.
happen, everybody. And I want to talk about we could I mean so we can talk the music thing is interesting and also the sort of the film thing. Like
Hmm.
I've been asking like why am I losing interest in watching films to some extent, and you're losing interest in playing games. And yeah, and how we view film as an art, as
Yeah,
opposed to game as an art. I mean, I'm certain that if I were a director, I would be perfectionistic and annoying, right? I'm
nobody
sure
would
that.
want to work with you after the
Nope.
first time. Is that what you're telling me? But
I
that's
don't
not true.
know.
That's not true.
I like to think it would be that
Yeah.
I would uh,
I
I
mean,
would
there are
have that.
people that appreciate, that perspective.
Yeah.
Um,
Or maybe,
I mean,
maybe not.
I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah,
So.
but on the other hand, maybe I even wouldn't. Maybe maybe film is just different. Like maybe I would be of the like, because I love like improv style stuff. I love shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Which
Hmm.
is highly improvisational. They don't work from a strict script and stuff like that, and that leads to all sorts of great stuff. And so
Yeah,
whereas
absolutely.
and so like maybe in a role playing context, um, Like there's improv, there's levels of improv in that mushy gameplay layer. There might, but like when it comes to designing a game like Blockers, I mean, like there, I'm suddenly like a classical musician, right? Like I'm not really in, it's like I don't think the loosey goosey improv methods are much help, you know. I don't know what I'm. I don't know. Different realms or something.
Well, I don't know though. I'm interested in the mix, obviously,
Yeah.
as evidenced by like Stone of Destiny and
Yeah.
this new one that I'm interested in making, trying to make. I'm interested in where those two meet.
Yeah.
And whether or not that can be made more elegant, of course, than D&D 4E is.
Yeah.
More simplified and
Or
distilled.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. It's a similar. It's like I just want to be spending as much of my time as possible during a session of D&D doing fun things or whatever I mean by that. I don't know.
Getting stuff done.
Hey, exactly. Yeah. I'm not gonna live that one down.
I want to ask Chalker about that.
Yeah. Yeah, what is it?
How he feels about getting stuff done in role playing games.
Yep. Well, I just want to speed along the process of beating it, is what I'm saying.
Right, that's right.
of beating that game, like I can with computer games,
Exactly.
So
yeah. Well, so that's interesting. Sometime I'd like to talk about going that other direction too.
Which?
About having computer games that are more mushy.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So there have been some experiments. Neverwinter was a kind of a that way, right? I never actually got to play it.
I played it, but not the mushy parts. I mean, I just played some, like a single player campaign version of it. So it was no different than playing Baldur's Gate or some other.
Okay, right. Oh, pardon me.
So it's the other parts of it seemed like a noble failure to me, like.
Well, see that I'm curious whether it's even how possible that is.
Yeah. I don't know.
So put that on the list.
All right. Well, as usually, we have a long list, and yet we said almost nothing, I think, tonight.
Mission accomplished.
Yep. Yeah. No, I don't know what we said tonight, but unlike other weeks, I think we solved everything. But tonight, I feel like we didn't. So.
Oh wait, what was the puzzle this week?
Oh no.
Oh, damn it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the puzzle.
Okay.
That's the puzzle. What was it? Right?
Yeah.
So we failed. We just failed completely. That's what happened.
Yeah, I know. That's good. That was doomed to happen. I don't know if that.
It was.
So we can either come up with one. We can make a quiz. Quizzes are not nearly as fun as puzzles, are they? I was going to say the quiz can be what's the distinction between finding and locating, and it's a trick question.
Right. Sure.
So.
Yeah. I guess the puzzle is somebody could actually figure this out. Somebody who's not involved. Is who do you expect to see next week in episode 8?
Okay, that's
very
a good
special
one.
episode. So yeah, somebody if they felt like it could actually figure that out.
Yep. That's
right.
as good as it's gonna get. All right, man. Awesome chat.
Thanks.
As usual, and can't wait for our special episode next week.
All right, we'll see. We'll try to do it at the same time, and if we have to change that, we'll let you know.
Sure. All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon.